kick it off. Okay, there we go. So thank you very much for being here. Today we're with director Rana Roy, cinematographer Julia Maixer, and editor Joan Mao. First, thank you for being here, and especially congratulations for the recent win on the WACO Film Festival. I'm very happy to hear that. Did you attend the festival? Did you get to go or?
All three of us went. It was
Oh,
very,
how was it?
it was really fun. Also, like it's been a while since we filmed, and so to be
Mm-hmm.
together again was very funny and very fun.
Because when was this film? 24 or so?
No, we filmed this in 2025 in February, and,
Mm-hmm.
but then we finished our edit first in September. But then I realized, I didn't finish the film because I still had to it's about many things, but like part of my
Yeah.
postpartum, and I was still in it. So I went away, got the help I needed, came back, and I said to
Mm-hmm.
Joan, do you mind cutting again? And she was like, oh my God, I'm gonna kill you because we tried so many different cuts of this film. So it was really fun, but she was amazing and trusted me and just I finally knew how to finish our film. Um,
Nice.
so we didn't finish cutting until June
Wow.
I
June
have over
2026.
2025.
130 timelines.
Yeah.
130. Wow.
Over.
Over 130
Yeah.
timelines.
Yeah.
I've never had more than like 20 personally, so
Oh, yeah.
130
It
is
was
already.
a lot. You know what was different about this film than any other film that any of us, because we've spoken about this, have worked on, is that
Hmm.
it's almost like the way that this film worked is it blends reality and like dream sequences in a
Yeah.
way because she's not really understanding which one is real. And so it was like sequences. And so you
Hmm.
change the order of the sequences and it changes the feeling. Even though if the story stays the same, it's the same story, and yet the feeling changes. So we experimented so much because it was like a jigsaw piece where it still worked with the
Hmm.
sequences changed and like literally back to front. And so yeah, we just were like, well, we have to try everything and see what feels like the best fit, which, yeah.
Well, it worked perfectly. And just theme was going to be my first question because I wanted to start off by asking about it and how you three put like your own creative vision into it, and to ask what's the main themes surrounded the film because as you said, there's like many things going on that they blend in really well. And how did each of you complement to that theme in your departments, be it directing, cinematography, and editing? So you can start off, Rana, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, like, first of all, picking a team is the most important thing, right? So
Hmm.
these two specifically were literally a dream, and like you see, I mean, they're here, right? We were at Waco together. Like it's been from the beginning to the end like this, and like so much time and effort and energy was put in. So that like it says a lot,
Hmm.
and it's very much the process. This was our thesis film, and even though I wrote it and I directed it and it was from my experience, like they were so with me to try to understand it every step of the way. And Julia was just like, ugh, I'm obsessed with her. I love her so much. It was such a dream to work together on the visuals of this film because I would explain to her, we would sit for hours and hours and like explain what this felt like because, none of
Hmm.
them, none of the others on the team were mothers and none of them were Arab, but like, we have our own connections to some of the layers that were happening in this film. And so each of them had something different that connected them. And that's why every person who was a part of the film is a part of the film. And
Hmm.
so they were able to bring that and then fill in the spaces from being incredible listeners. So with Julia, I just remember like we would talk a lot, and she would present images to me. And I was like, it's not quite that, or it is that. And I just remember there was one image specifically she found, and it's like our overhead shots of where we kind of start the film with the child. And I was like,
Hmm.
every photo I have with my baby in that beginning was from the top because you're sitting and you're feeding your child. And so like your partner would take it from above you. And she found this image, and I was like, wow, it just evoked something in me. And I was like, this is like every single photo that I have of my child. Like that feels so right. So we would work in that way. And she just had the most incredible images. And I think that like there's so little being said and so much being seen. And so
Hmm.
her imagery really captured this story in a way where the words didn't have to explain it, you know? And then when it came to the edit, again, like, I'll come back to like, we have so many timelines. And even the fact that like almost a year later, Joan was like, okay, so what's the thing that you feel like you didn't get, Even figuring out, like, I had this idea of sound and like, we worked with John Warren, who's an incredible sound designer, and
Hmm.
Joan to put together the sound design for this, where I was like, Joan, it needs to sound like this. Or actually, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to work with Joan is she talked about sound in our first interview to work on this film. And she had mentioned about like, what if we make a soundtrack with like the breast pump and, in a way. And
Hmm.
I thought it was so genius. And so everybody just brought something every step of the way that it's hard to like specifically say who did what because we worked so together in all of it. But it was so integral, like I said, because specifically the visuals and the edit of this film, um, it's all in that. The storytelling is all in that. The words do not do that.
Hmm.
It do not give anything away. So it was so even the melding, which is like the last edit that we did of all of the layers coming together, we only found that in the last edit.
Wow.
And so, there's a particular scene that kind of brings it all together. And yeah, just the exploration of that like couldn't have been done without them. So yeah.
Thank you. I'll continue on with you. Like these next questions are directed to each one of you and your department, and I'll continue on with Rana. As for directing, how did you come up with this idea, and why did you decide to use the Palestinians in Gaza as an underlying narrative and subtext to the film?
Mhm. So I was literally going through my postpartum while at the American Film Institute. It was really
Hmm.
difficult. Our program
Wow.
is really rigorous and
Yeah.
also as being a mother. So the two combined was very intense. And I didn't get to deal with my postpartum because I was just trying to get through the day to day of it all. Um, I really thought I was going to write a comedy. Like, okay, my comedies are kind of dark and uncomfortable. So they're not like typical comedies, but I did think I was going to write a comedy. And obviously, this is not one. This is very psychological horror.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it, it came out of me in a day because it was really what I was experiencing and the only way I knew how to express because I wasn't really dealing with it. I'm also Arab.
Yeah.
Have my closest friends, even the actress who is my best friend in the film, is Palestinian.
Hmm.
Um, and I just like becoming a mother just gave me a perspective, not that you need one, but I really saw my child in all of these children. And I couldn't help like, I mean, I was going through intrusive thoughts for my postpartum and the anxiety of something horrible happening to my child. And then I was seeing this actually happen. Like my worst nightmare actually happened to mothers in our world and over there, So it was heartbreaking for me. And what was harder is that nobody was talking about it because everybody is so scared in our industry. And especially at that time, I wrote this in 2023, So at that time, it's scary to write and talk about something like this in our industry. It's another thing that I
Hmm.
commend our team for is I said, listen, this is what we're talking about. And are you okay about that? Are you willing to risk your career? And they all were. Um, because it just meant more than, I was like, why are we here if we're not touching on subjects that are meaningful that could make people aware or at least like get people talking about it because it's easier to ignore it. I couldn't stand the thought of people justifying or ignoring this.
Hmm.
And so it just came out and I felt like it was all of the layers. It's all one thing really. It's about life and death.
Yeah.
And whose, identity shouldn't really matter.
And it surely conveys that emotion, like especially having the not distinction, but the being able to visualize all of those news, like the news outlets, the horrible things that were going on in Gaza, through the child are very impactful. Like it makes it so much more visual and so much more striking and beautiful in the way of conveying that emotion.
Thank you.
Um, as for the cinematography, Julia, it makes you feel very trapped for me. That's what it made it. And wanted to ask you, was there any techniques that you especially used to achieve this apart from the 4/3 aspect ratio?
Hmm. Yeah, 4/3, like it's a big one for that specifically. But like most of all, what we were trying to really do like visually is like be very much like present in her subjectivity, like be very like truthful to like what she was going through and how your vision like kind of narrows into like, to what she's experiencing at the time. And I think part of like why it also feels very encapsulating like and isolating with the character is also because we chose a large format. So with the combination of the 4:3 plus the large format, it gave us like a massive like sort of depth of field picture into
Mhm.
like a small container, and it just felt like very evocative and like, visceral. So that's partly also why we wanted to use that medium. And also the depth of field is very shallow, so
Mhm.
really brings you into like her subconscious and like the characters. So, detaches her from the background at times, and yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I would also add, sorry, that
Yeah.
the camera and the blocking really worked together to create that as well.
Hmm.
And these were things we were even working out in the moment on set. Which blocking was changing, camera was
Yeah.
changing because we had very little time. So, uh, working closely together on that to create that feeling as well helped.
Yeah. One of my favorite shots is that it's like second to last shot, the really slow dolly of the
Mhm.
reveal of what happens. I'm not gonna spoil it for for the viewers watching this, but that's one of my favorite shots. But my favorite shot is, and I'm going to ask Joanne about this, is it's a scene that really stuck with me, and it's the two shot where the caretaker helps the protagonist get rid of the pain in her chest, and you don't cut in that entire shot. And I think that works perfectly. But I wanted to ask why that decision, and overall in all the film we linger a lot in many shots. Like the characters will leave the shot, but you still linger in those moments. What was your thought process behind those editing decisions?
Well, I have to credit that scene specifically to
Hmm.
Rana and Julia because that's all I had.
Because
So we
well,
had a lot planned for that
Yeah,
scene.
mhm.
that's
And
yeah.
it was on I believe, the second or the third day, and we were so behind.
Yeah.
And I mean, we speak about this scene a lot because it's actually ended up being one of our favorite scenes because it was again so collaborative.
Hmm.
We were on set. I was like, I had no sleep because also my child wasn't sleeping. So we were already doing crazy days. I wasn't sleeping at night. I was trying to keep up with everything. And I just had a moment that was really vulnerable with the team where I went, I think I'm really screwing up. And I don't know how to keep up with all of this.
Hmm.
And they fully just held me and gathered around me. And this is like more than just the core team. This is really the crew. And they were like, we've got your back. Like, we can do this. We can figure it out. And I just, in that moment, from having that much support, I went, wait, Julia, if we just stay in this shot, because we were not going to make the day, we stay in this shot, can this work? And Julia's like, yeah, I think this can fully work in this shot. So then we ended up reblocking. And like, again, I want to give credit where it's due because I think this is so important because it's not a decision alone, but it's together.
Hmm.
Where our gaffer, who's also a cinematographer in our program, he was like, can I give a suggestion? I was like, please do. I really need everybody's help here. And he was like, what if you have this happen? And I was like, that's perfect. And then our first AD, who also was the director in our program, was like, what if you try this? And I was like, this is amazing. Or gave a line change. So it became like really a collaborative like effort
Hmm.
where we were all kind of coming up with something that the other one and bouncing off each other that shifted that scene so much and created that really uncomfortable moment. Um, that really it was like one of those magic moments that happen on
Yeah.
set. And so poor Joan was like, wait, huh? But she loved it anyway, so she worked with it. And there was
Hey,
no
I guess I'll take the credit. Yeah, I stayed in that scene because it made sense.
yeah.
Well, it's happy accidents happen on set where something doesn't work and suddenly it
Yeah.
works even better.
It was so much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, going back to Joanne then, knowing that it was like not enough coverage, but at the end it did end up working really well. In the editing process, what decisions did you make, especially for intertwining two, I'm not going to say two different narratives because it all blends into one, but as Rana said in the beginning, how everything is so well intertwined with the dream sequences and the reality, where sometimes we don't know where we are. How was that process? And especially with the 130 timelines, how did that change across them?
Um, it sounds like a two-part question. So I guess
Hmm.
the first question, I'm just gonna give like a kind of cliche answer. Instinct. Like, really, it's whatever footage you get,
Hmm.
you just kind of feel it out and see what makes sense, you know? Because like, you know, Julia did an amazing job, Rana did an amazing job, as well as Maid, the lead actress, she gave a outstanding performance.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, you know, let the story tell, and that's what I just followed. Second part, timeline. Like Rana had said, like, you know, we shuffled scenes back and forth. You know, we had multiple test screenings, and each time it was like different feedback. And it was just really figuring out what made the most sense. I will say, like, the toughest transitions was like getting from inside to outside.
Hmm.
Um, because,
And then back to that.
yes, because sound and pace is so different. And so it's try to, you know, we're not done at the film where she goes outside. So it's trying to like make sure the audience is still in and following our lead character.
Thank you. Um, Regarding the film as a whole, and again, I'm going to like go to each one of you, and this is just for you to tell me, and we can start off with Joanna and go like reverse order. What like is there a favorite part of the movie for you? After edit and during the edit? As in like when you were producing it, did you have a favorite moment? And if there's a favorite moment after the edit, after seeing it in the festival, which one is it? I don't know if it makes much sense, that question.
I have many moments, many
Hmm.
little moments.
Don't give anything away though.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, obviously, like, you know,
Spoiler alert.
they were busy doing production. So when I was done with assembly, this is
Hmm.
like before Robin came in and chimed in on the voice. I was pretty happy. Like I told him, like, you know, guys, we got something special. You guys did a knockout. You knocked it out during production.
Just for reference,
Um,
Joe never says these things. So we were like, what?
We
yeah,
were
I
very happy about it. We were very happy.
you know, I just don't like forcing a compliment just to say a compliment, you know. So if it's really like outstanding, I'll say it. Um, and then you know, obviously, you know, doing the multiple. I enjoy like doing 120 timelines because it was a really fun puzzle, right? Like I
Hmm.
love solving problems, and each time you learn something new. It might not necessarily be the answer that you wanted, but it might help you come up with something else. So that was fun. What else? Getting into all the festivals is fun. Uh, yeah. So no, it's just a lot of fun
Specific
aspects
moments
of it.
in the film without
Uh,
giving it.
in the film, there's there's this montage of cycle scene.
Hmm.
I enjoy that. I also like, you know, the aha moment that we can't talk about, like the one that gets the loudest reaction out of the audience.
Hmm.
Um, there's also this cool edits in the third act where the nurse is helping the mother out
Hmm.
during the daytime. That's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. What about you, Julia?
Oh my God. I don't there's so there's so many moments, but I
Hmm.
think like I was just thinking through like pre-production. I think that was my favorite time. Like designing the look. Like with our colorists when we went into the session, we discovered the big thing there with like our black and white like baby cam. He did like
Hmm.
something, he tweaked it into because basically what we did on set is we placed a red fabric, like a stretchy fabric on top of the lens so that when you pass that footage into like black and white, then that did like sort of an infrared look. And it also like broke
Hmm.
up the image in a way that
That's so
like felt
cool.
distorted and stuff. So he was like, we sent him the footage, like the actual testing footage. And then we went into the session and then he was like, oh yeah, well, I just tried this one thing, but I'm just gonna move on to like the next thing because like I don't think you guys
It
care
was a
about this. And
mistake.
we were just like,
It was
wait,
no,
wait, wait,
because it
wait,
was a
go back
mistake.
to
He
it.
was like, he was embarrassed
Yeah.
that it was a mistake he made. He
Yes.
felt
And I was
it.
like, wait, no, no. Let's go back to that. And that actually became the LUT that we actually played on set and then we color
Hmm.
graded on. So designing that was really cool. The overall look of the film, it's like a very desaturated look and very specific one. So
Yeah.
designing that was really cool. And obviously like the whole conversations, getting into the mood, the film, the information, the research that we were all doing throughout the process, that was really, really great. And I think also we got a lot of great feedback and also like the grants that we got, like the investment and everything.
Hmm.
We won like first prize in this like private investing pitch that they
Congratulations.
did
Hmm.
at AFI. So we got a lot of like hype and like everyone was very motivated throughout the process. So I really enjoyed pre-production overall. And then production obviously was really fun, stressful,
Hmm.
but
But fun.
magic moment as well as Rana mentioned, that was a big one. But yeah, so that's what I'd say. Mm,
Thank you.
yeah.
Um, yeah, also so many moments, but for me, I think there's two. So specifically in the film, I do really love it when people react, and then there's a little bit of like the only one moment I could use my humor with my
Hmm.
uncomfortable humor, which is very clear when you watch it. It's the only moment, and that makes me happy when people react to that. Again, it's like the scene that in was the magic moment when we were making it, you know. So that specific moment was very there's just so many. The other thing is that I this film was the most personal thing I've ever made and
Hmm.
really vulnerable and really hard for me. And also like those things are still happening in the world, which
Yeah.
sometimes makes it hard to even have a conversation about anything because I'm like, well, that's still happening. So what are we really doing here, you know? But I will say this that like I was trying to hide things in the script because I didn't know if we'd be allowed. And I
Hmm.
was also, you know, like even for the Arab and Muslim community, there's nudity in the film. And I didn't know, I was like, this doesn't really fit. Like, I don't know who's gonna accept this film, you
Hmm.
know? But I still need to make a film that feels so true and authentic to this experience because I haven't fully seen that captured. And wow, did people surprise me every step of the way. Like American Film Institute had our back. Like, no, I just really didn't expect it as things got revealed. The teachers, the faculty, the I mean, the head of, you know, like we were really supported every step of the way, even with the donors, like giving us the biggest donation grant to our film. And then like Al Jazeera coming in, and I was speaking to the head of Al Jazeera, who is just like the most beautiful, beautiful person who
Hmm.
really is just wanting to help get the awareness out there because of what's happening. And they gave us the film, you know, a lot of the news footage they allowed us to use. And I was really worried about them seeing the nudity. And I think the message was bigger than that. And so things that like mattered before made a little bit more sense to people captured in this way because it's not against anyone. It's just more of like, we need to care for each other whether we're
Hmm.
mothers, whether we're all just people at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
so that for me is the biggest win. Even, for a long time we weren't getting into festivals, and now we're getting into a lot. And just to see the world shift and open and be able to have a conversation and be able to like have awareness in this way, I've watched it fully change from 2023 up until now in terms of just like on a social level. So that's a big thing for me to see and to have some kind of hope. And I really hope it changes more,
Hmm.
but yeah, that for me was the biggest gift.
Yeah. All of your answers were fantastic. I wanted to touch in with the sound design because I know you mentioned it, and for me, it's one of the most terrifying parts of the film, how it slowly builds up during it, and
Yeah.
how it complements all the aspects. For each one of you, or like together, how did you have in mind the sound design before making the film, and did it influence any of the decisions you made on set?
Yeah, I was very specific. Like I said, one of the first, like the interviews me and Joan had, she'd mentioned about the pump, and that really got my mind going because I
Hmm.
I started as a dancer, and
Yeah.
I had like I was a singer. I was signed to I had 2 record deals and things. So I come from a music background in general. And sound has always been really important to me specifically. And I loved when Joan said that. I was like, this is exactly what I feel, because as a mother, like it's so isolating, and your world in your one room, or like your home becomes the sounds of horror, like these everyday monotonous repetition, like you're waking up every 2 hours to feed your baby no matter what time.
Hmm.
And so those things become horrific when it's over and over again. You don't even know what's night and day and what's what. So to create that and to keep it really bare, because that's the experience, it had to tie back to the experience. What is she hearing? It's subjective again. Like,
Hmm.
so it's tied into everything. It's all together. The visuals, the sound, the edit, like it's all to come from the experience of what that moment feels like, and then what we're experiencing on our phones, because you're like to pass the time you're looking at your phone, or the
Hmm.
TV. And so that needed to be in a way the score, the design, everything. So we were very clear on that from the beginning. And John Warren, we've mentioned him. He is just unbelievable. He gave this
Yeah.
film so much more time than it was supposed to have for what we could afford. And we're so grateful to him. He's the best. Joan did a lot of work too, up front. So it was just, we knew that was part of the edit, you know,
Hmm.
but it was from the beginning.
And just as a last question for all of you three, since we're running out of time here in the Zoom, what can we expect from each one of you, from Rana as a director, Julia as a DP, and Joan as an editor in the future? Are you working on your own things? What can we expect from you guys?
Do you guys want to go?
Arana.
You can go.
I want to work with these two forever.
Hmm.
I really like, they have showed up like no one else. I absolutely loved working with them, and I have a proof of concept and a feature that is called Mummy, and it's set in England, and it has a lot of uncomfortable humor and also very, very dark. And it's reclaiming the word mummy, because I am Egyptian, to back to its cultural origins, and like playing with that. So both of these two are involved in that, and that's, for me, my next big thing that I'm focusing on. I'm also doing other projects as well. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to continue to work with these. Joan also, like, oh my God, her role went so far beyond editor, and she's helped produce. We will, produce, but she really like has helped so much in that area. So I will also be asking, and have asked for her to do other roles, which is great.
Nice. Thank you very much, Rana.
Yeah.
Julia, you can go next if you want, and
Okay.
then we'll finish up with Joan.
I also want to work with these two forever. So, whatever they do, I'm hopefully gonna be there with them too. And but yeah, I mean, I have a lot of narrative projects coming up,
Hmm.
and especially for 2027, there's features and things like that that I'm working on, and a lot of proof of concepts at the end of this year. So yeah, trying to stay on the narrative track of it all. That's like where what I love and what I
Hmm.
want to do for the rest of my life, hopefully. So yeah, yeah, that's it. Not
Good
much,
luck
but
with that. Fingers
thank you.
crossed for a very good 2027 for all of you three. And to finish up, Joanne, what about you? What
Y-
are you
Yeah,
working on?
same. Like, want to work with them. Julia is like literally my favorite DP. I think a lot of DPs, they overstep and like try to act like directors. But Julia is like truly like very supportive on creating the director's vision and as well as, adding in her own viewpoints. So yeah, I was just love Julia. We all love Julia.
We do, we do.
Uh,
Joan. Um,
uh,
yeah.
aside from like let me other stuff, I have to finish a few projects that I had directed to, and I'm writing as well, and finding jobs, cutting jobs because I went to AFI, so I have a big student loan.
Well, thank you very much to all of you three. I'll remind everyone that the movie will be out on HollyShorts on the day on the 14th at 10 p.m. So don't miss out on NightFeeds. It's a fantastic film, terrifying all over. And thank you, you three, for being here, for letting me interview you. It was such a pleasure, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you very much again.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye.
You
Thank you
too.
very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.